Okay, welcome to the first episode of Life Lessons from a Neanderthal. Now, why did I go with the Neanderthal theme? Well, because that's kind of what I'm seeing like right now. In this world today, it's just I'm a heterosexual. Been married to my wife for 32 years. Have an intact family. So, a combat vet. I seem like kind of everything that everybody else isn't nowadays, and so that they're just looking to, I don't know, looking for somebody to blame or something like that. But that's not why we're here. All right. So the reason for the podcast. So let me just say that real quick. Is the reason why I started this is so there's a lot of podcasts out there. There's a lot of podcasts where people are giving other people advice and so forth and so on. And I'm like, okay, well, what's your background, this, that, and the other. And a lot of these people that are giving advice really, I don't know, haven't really gone through the ringer, if you will. So I'll just give you a little bit of my background real quick, just to show, and this is not to brag or get at, for affirmation or this and the other. This is just to let you know that I've been around the block a few times, been through the gauntlet and this, that, and the other. And, I feel, part of the reason is I feel like through what I have been through that, I can offer advice and just even come up with, meaningful discussions on things. And maybe there's things I don't understand, and I like to discuss these kind of subjects with you. So just real quick, my name is Gary Hickman. I came from an abusive household, alcoholic father, and he was abusive. That led me to the military, and I'm a combat vet, and I was in the military for 6 years, and then became a paramilitary contractor, all doing overseas duty. Been married 32 years to the same woman, wonderful, absolutely great woman. Name is Wendy, my wife, and here's the thing: we are going to get Wendy on this show. As a matter of fact, I like to do the show along with her. One of the most intelligent people that I know, and she has great insight on things. So I'm going to get her on the show. She's a little shy. She doesn't like being in front of the camera or even being in front of the microphone. But I'm going to get her on the show. That's been my full intent the whole time, is to get her on there. But I might have to do a couple episodes on my own, and then we'll see if we can't bring her in. So I'm also a father of 2 kids. I'm a published author, also a published musician. Have a heavy metal band and called Reap the Light, which you can go check us out on Spotify and Apple Music and YouTube. We have videos for all our songs, so you can check it out there. So I tell you that not to brag or anything. I'm telling you that because I've been through a lot of crap, and I wanted to have a platform to discuss things, to bring things up that either nobody else is bringing them up, or they're not bringing them up, I don't know, adequately, or they're not really talking about things that I think, we should be talking about. And hopefully, get some advice. And like I said before, trying to get my wife in. She's a almost 32-year school teacher. And so this woman has a hell of a lot of insight just into society and all that. So we're going to try to get her on. Now, well, let me take that back. We're not going to try to get her. We're going to get her on. And anyway, so that's that, and that's kind of the reasons behind, or that's my background and the reasons behind wanting to do the podcast, because I'm seeing a lot out there, and they're just not doing. I don't think they're handling it efficiently and whatnot. So let's get into it. So the
Hello, Frisco.
Oops, sorry, I got sound effects from my other podcast. The screen was going out. That's my Rip Taylor. So anyway, so the subject we have for the first podcast is we want to discuss manherding. Now, if you've never heard this before, I'm going to explain to you. Well, first, let me give you the scenario, and then it might make sense, and then we can explain it even further. So, we have a group of friends that we've hung out with since high school. Okay. And we go to the beach every other year or so, and just rent a big house, and it's just the adults. So anyway, so we did it this year, actually just last month. And so, we come in, and so each family or each couple has a night that they have to pick to fix dinner for everybody else. So it was our night this night, or actually our night was the first night, Sunday night, and we did spaghetti meatballs and whatever. Not that that's that important. So anyway, so my wife and I are in the kitchen, and my wife's and we're in the kitchen, and we're making, and the rest of the ladies want to help. No problem with that. All right, I get it. So I'm like getting bowls for stuff, for this or that, this and the other, and then I got and then I'm getting utensils, and I'm cooking pasta. And well, long story short, they're like, well, we're not going to use that bowl. We're going to use this. I said, what's the difference? I said, the bowl's a bowl. It's what's the big? There's no difference in the bowl. And all this, and so long story short, I basically end up getting pushed out of the kitchen in some fashion. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, and I've known these people for a long time, so this is kind of par for the course in a sense. So I'm like, all right, so that happens. So that happens all through the week, right? Where usually the guys are the women are running the show. All right. And the husbands are like, yeah, whatever. Hey, I'm not arguing. I'm not going to make trouble. So that happens throughout. That was continuing to happen through the week. Now, here's the thing about that. All right. So when we talk about Manherding, all right. So when you start giving your man, your husband, I'm just going to say your man, that way you do it. When you start giving him directions on how he's supposed to do, or what he's supposed to do and how he's supposed to act, in a sense of, do this or, that, they call mending. So you're going to herd your man to whatever place, like in whatever place within, this environment. Okay. So for instance, if the women are doing the cooking, not saying that they have to, the guys were going to, but they basically get pushed out. So now you're herding your guy through this whole, through the kitchen. Now, during the week, they're, the ladies are saying, okay, we're going to go do this. We're going to go to the beach for here. And then we're going to go out to eat for this and this. And so you're herding your men. You're herding the men, and you're herding them to say, we're going to go here. We're going to go there. Now, the guys are like, and let me say this as clearly as I can, ladies. The men don't give a crap, okay? As long as things are peaceful, you just tell us where to go, when to go, and we're fine. And we'll make our own. And once we get to wherever we're going, the guys will usually do okay. We'll band together as a man herd here, and then we'll just hang out, do our thing, and whatever else. We're cool with it. We're fine. But here's the thing. Once you start hurting your men, you can't just drop it and then just expect him to do something differently than what you have been hurting him to do for the whole week. All right? So men have learned to either stay out of the way or do this or do that. So you can't just leave him to his own vices once you start hurting him. Once you start hurting the men, we need constant direction. And a lot of things that women ask is when guys are sitting there watching TV or whatever, and they always want to know what a man's thinking. Well, you want to know what a man's thinking? This. Absolutely nothing. We're not thinking about anything. Especially if we're watching football. Okay. Now, if we're watching football, we're not thinking of the great, mystery of the universe, or or what is the meaning of life. We're thinking either this, or we're thinking, well, why did they call that play? Or a referee missed that call. Or why is this referee calling that? Because that's bull crap. You're an idiot, right? That's what we're thinking. We're not thinking about this and that and whatever else. So anyway, so when we go and you've heard us, or let's say you've herded us out of the kitchen or out of the decision making or, out of scheduling, whatever it is, we're going to stay out. Okay? That's because if that's how we're trained and that's where we've been herded into this pasture where we're just told to kind of hang out and graze and whatever else, that's what we're going to do. And that's how we do it. So, here's the deal. So, then we come to the last night of the beach week. And so, the women come, we come up, everything else. So the women go in the kitchen and they start taking out all of the, the leftovers that we had. We were supposed to eat leftovers that night, and one of the ladies decided, no, we're going to go out to eat. Again, guys are like, fine, whatever. I don't care. We're going to go out to eat. That's fine. So anyway, so we're back and everything else. And so the women start going in the kitchen and they start emptying out the refrigerator and the leftovers, and they're divvying up what's left of the non-perishables, that people are, can take home. So one or two of us are standing there and we're kind of looking at what's going on. Now, granted, we've been herded into our other pasture. So when we see what's going on, we're like, I guess we're supposed to, we've been herded in this pasture every day. So we're just going to stay in this pasture. So we go sit down. All right. So even some of the other guys, some other husbands come up the stairs. They turn to go in the kitchen. They see the women in there, moving stuff and taking stuff and throwing it away, this and the other. They look at it and they're like, oh, this is not the pasture that we're supposed to be in because we've been herded elsewhere. So you could actually see the guys come up, turn to go to the kitchen. They look into the kitchen and they're like, and you see them do a U-turn and come out and sit with us either on the deck or in the living room. Now, then my wife says, hey, I need somebody to take this trash out. And we kind of look at each other for a couple seconds, and then I get up and take the trash out. All right. Now we want to fast forward to where we're going to bed for that last night. My wife turns to me and she goes, the ladies were really annoyed with you men. And again, here we are with this. And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, the girls are a little annoyed. And I'm like, well, why? And she goes on to explain that, we didn't go in there and help them do this and that. And I said, well, okay. I said, I apologize. And I said, well, we probably should have asked or something. I said, but here's the deal. And this is when I briefly explained man-herding to my wife. And now, granted, we've been married for 32 years. Okay. And I think she knows some of this, but I decided to go ahead and tell her anyway. And I briefly explained to her what man-herding is, and the simple fact that once you herd them into this pasture, and you herd them into that pasture every day, or I won't even say every day, it's like every time there's something going on, the men get herded into this certain pasture where they're just sitting there to wait and graze while the women make decisions and this and that. I'm not trying to be sexist or whatever, but that's how it happened. And that's how it happened. So I explained to her, I said, look, my lovely wife, I said, once you start herding us into that pasture, and every time that we either do something, think of something, or decide something, you herd us into that pasture, guess what? We're going to go right in that pasture, and we're going to start grazing and whatever, and stay the hell out of the way, because nobody wants to stir up any BS, because we just want peace and harmony in the house. So I had explained to her, I said, well, once you herd us, you can't stop herding us. If you want us out of that pasture, then you have to come and herd us out of that pasture and into another pasture or wherever else you want us to do or go. So she kind of laughed about it and whatever else. So then the next morning, I confronted the widows. I said, well, hey, I heard you guys were a little upset with us. Now, granted, okay, first let me do this. First, there was one husband there that his wife was doing some stuff. Really didn't have to do with the kitchen or part of the kitchen, but really had to do with other things. He should have jumped up and helped his wife. Now that I can't help, and he was in trouble, and that I can't defend or whatever because he's on his own on that one. So if he's in the doghouse on that one, that is completely on him. But excuse me, the rest of the stuff. So I confronted the women. Not confronted, but I said, hey, ladies, let me explain something. I'm not doing it cocky. I'm just saying, look. And I explained to them about the manherding. I said, once you start herding us, I tell you, you herd us into that pasture. We're just automatically, because we're dumb animals, we're gonna go into that pasture. And if you want us in another pasture, well, then you're gonna have to herd us out of that pasture that you've been herding us into for the last 5,000 times, and herd us into another pasture. Okay. So that's kind of basically what we're talking about. So like I said, so once you herd them in a certain pasture, that's where you're going to go. And the guys get it in their head that they don't want any disruption of the status quo, and we don't want to cause issues, so we will just automatically go right into that pasture and stay out of the way and not cause any disruptions or whatever. That's how we are. Guys just want peace in the house, and if we feel, which we do, because we're not that deep thinkers. If we're thinking that we go into that pasture that you herded us into, and that's going to give us the best best odds at peace, we're going to go directly there. We're going to go directly to that pasture, and that's where we're going to marinate for a while. Okay, so most guys. So here's the thing, ladies. Most guys will not do anything knowingly stupid, at least to the point that they think is going to piss off their woman. All right. Now, granted, us guys, we do plenty of things that are stupid. I don't think we really mature. I mean, I'm 53, and I haven't completely matured yet myself. So some of the ladies out there, if you're wondering when your man's going to mature enough, or at least mature to your level, I don't think that's going to happen. My wife still asks me the question, how old are you? Because, I mean, I have a 20-year-old son, and, farts are still funny, and people falling down in videos are still funny. So we're very immature, and it kind of stays that way for quite a while. And even though I, am very successful in business, or, in work, and I have good work ethic, and I can be professional, more times than not, I'm pretty much a idiot, goofball. So that's just how guys are. Now, so here's the thing. Like I said, guys won't knowingly do something stupid they think is going to piss off their woman. It's just the fact that we think differently than you guys. Okay. Now, my wife, one of the things my wife did come up with is she said, well, you could have asked. Women will constantly ask, if they can help and this and the other. See, and so women think if I constantly ask, that I'm constantly asking to help. So that way people think I'm helping. See, guys think of it differently. Guys think if I constantly nag you or annoy you wanting to help, when every answer to this point has been no, then we see that as a point of pissing you off. So we're going to resist doing that, and we're going to go and just saunter into our pasture that we've been herded into, and we're going to go right there. Because if we're constantly, trying to help, and you're like, no, well, then we're thinking we're pissing you off, so we're not even going to go down that road, and we're going to go right in the pasture. You see? So, like I said, guys are just conditioned not to constantly ask because they see that it is annoying. So again, it's just that women and men think differently. And it's not that we don't care. I'm telling you, guys do not want to purposely piss off their wives or girlfriends or whatever, because it just doesn't work out well for us. So again, we might do something stupid, but it's not on purpose to piss you off. It's just like, we probably thought it was a good idea at the time. And usually that turns out to be not so much. Let me get a little drink here. So, manherding. Yes, manherding is basically your man becomes conditioned to either act a certain way, or we're conditioned to assume the same situation, because again, we don't want to disrupt the status quo and end up pissing somebody off when you know that 99.9% of the time this is the direction it's going to go and this is the way things are going. And like I said, especially on Beach Week, every decision that was made by the women. And again, the guys don't care. You guys want to do this, I'm there. You guys want us to go here, we're there. Doesn't matter. We're easy going. We do not care. As long as we get, here's the deal. So as long as we get a beer here and there, or I'm more of a whiskey man, as long as we get a couple drinks here and there, and we get some food, and we're not pissing our wives off, and we get some smoochie, some sugar here and there, we'll do whatever you need. We'll go wherever you want. We're fine with it. Now, I know that this works a little bit differently when it's just you and your man. Now you want your man to actually chime in and have some kind of say, or at least act that he cares about the decision that's being made. But when I talk about manherding, this is when you're in a group situation and there's a pack of women and a herd of men, and you are herding men over, and so forth and so on. Then the men will not give you their opinion. They will more than likely keep their mouth shut, fill the cooler up, and so forth and so on, and go into their pasture. So now, okay, here's the thing, ladies. If it is now, so especially if you come off a Beach Week where he's been dictated to by these pack of women, then you are going to have to re-herd him into the individual scenario. When it's just now when it's just you and your man, you and your husband, you and your boyfriend, whatever, and now you want to solicit his opinion, or his opinion, or to be included in the decision of either where you're going to eat, where you're going to go, or whatever the situation may be. You are going to have to herd him into another pasture, because he has just been herded into the one pasture for the last 5,000 times during the whole week, and he's still going to believe that is the pasture that he needs to be in. So if you want him in a different pasture, you want him to help make decisions, you are going to have to herd him back into, or re-herd him to another pasture. All right? That is just how a man works. Now, I'm talking about normal, everyday dudes, okay? And without getting political, I'm not talking about beta males, where beta males are sitting there crocheting with you. Not that it's saying that regular guys aren't sensitive, because believe me, I get all my boys I run with, and they're sensitive enough to, when they know that their wife's hurting, or when the situation calls for a little bit of decorum and this, that, and the other. Believe me, guys pick up on that stuff. I know guys are portrayed as, Neanderthals. We're knuckle draggers and we're idiots and this, that, and the other. But, you ought to sit down and talk to your man every once in a while. And you'd find out, especially you ladies that haven't been going out with him that long. Well, I mean, you want to go out with them for a while before you really get into the deep conversations, because that just might scare them off. But if you're married or this, that, and the other, sit down and talk to him. Pick his brain a little bit. You'd probably be amazed as to what you'd get out. What you would get out of him. All right. So especially when but you have to herd him into a certain pasture, in the sense of you have to let him know that you're really serious about this conversation, and you're looking to really kind of have a real discussion, and not just something that he can like jack around with. So he will lock his seatbelt. He'll sit down and seatbelt up, and he'll take that ride with you. You just got to let him know that's the ride that you're taking. All right. So that, my friends, is my first episode 1 of the Life Lessons from a Neanderthal podcast with your host, Gary. And so that's our first episode. Men herding, whatever. So that's kind of the format of how these podcasts are going to go. So I'm going to have the ability where you can reach out and email me or whatever if you have some suggestions for future podcasts. I actually have a list, but I will, if there's a subject that you guys really want to cover, I will wedge that in, because I can always push my other stuff back if need be. So what I'm hoping, like I said, is to get my wife in here, and also I'm going to eventually want to make this podcast interactive. Okay, so those of you that would probably listen to this on Anchor or whatnot, it won't be so interactive with you and whatnot. But I'm hoping to eventually put this on YouTube and Facebook with a live feed. And it might take us a little while to get to that point, just to see if people want to interact and maybe make comments, and we can have that discussion on whatever the topic may be, and we can go back and forth with listeners and what have you, and see how that works. All right, but for now, we're going to do a couple episodes just as a podcast, and actually this is going to go on YouTube as well, so you can see the the visual part of it, but it's not going to be interactive, at least initially. So that's it. So that is the podcast. We're going to try to keep these down to about a half hour. And so that's what we got. So give me so like I said, I'll give you the email where you can respond. Give me some suggestions, give me some comments. Especially if you're going to watch this on YouTube, you can put your comments obviously in the comment section. Let me know what you think, and if this thing's gonna, if you're gonna really want to listen to this in the future, well, I'm gonna do it anyway. So whether or not you listen, that's up to you. So anyway, so that's what we're doing. That's how we're gonna move forward. Like I said, suggestions, let us know. And anyway, let me know what you think about it. Let me know what you think about the topic. If you have any other comments of it, and maybe if you have comments on this one, when I start up the next episode, maybe, I'll go over some of your comments and whatever before we get into the next subject or topic. Okay? So anyway, this is Gary from Life Lessons from a Neanderthal podcast. God bless you. And we will see you a little bit later down the road. God bless. Bye.